I want to tell you about a flight I once took, 3,000 miles, one way, for a 28-minute conversation. Most people would call that a waste of time and money. I call it the best investment I made that year. Because here's something I figured out after 30 years in business. After going from a broke 24-year-old with nothing to building a $100 million a year AI venture studio, the thing that moved the needle more than any strategy, any tool, any course, or any marketing campaign was never what I knew. It was who I was in the room with. The skill of building deep, real, intentional relationships is the most underrated wealth-building skill on the planet. And in this video, I'm going to give you 4 reasons why, backed by real stories, real people, and real outcomes that changed the direction of my life and my business. If you master this one thing, everything else you're already doing gets multiplied. Let's get into it. The first reason you need to master relationship building is simple. The people around you sharpen you, or they dull you. There is no neutral. One of my closest friends is a guy named Taki Moore. We've known each other for over a decade, and our relationship is one of the best examples I have of what it looks like when 2 people genuinely challenge each other to grow. I brought Taki in 8 years ago because I needed help. I was a software guy. I knew how to build products, how to run teams, how to code. But the IP stuff, the content strategy, the personal brand framework, I had no idea. Taki helped me build the frame. And then 2 years ago, Taki hired me to coach him. That's what real relationships do. They flip, they evolve, they give and take over years, not just in one direction. People think a mentor relationship is a one-way street. Someone gives, someone receives. But the best ones I've ever been in felt more like 2 school kids sitting next to each other going, "Hey, look at this. What do you think?" The banter never stops. The growth never stops. Here's what most people miss about this. They treat relationships like a soft skill, something nice to have, a bonus if it happens. It is not a bonus. It is the strategy. The skills you have, sales, marketing, AI, leadership, all of them get multiplied the moment you put them in contact with the right people. One conversation with someone operating at a higher level than you can do more for your business than 3 months of studying alone. So ask yourself right now, who is sharpening you? And who are you sharpening? If you can't answer that question clearly, that's your first problem to solve. The second reason is this: the right relationships do not happen by accident. They happen by design. I have a ritual I do at the end of every year. I look at my goals for the coming year. Business goals, personal goals, legacy goals. And then I write down a separate list. A list of relationships I want to create that would actually help me hit those goals. Not vague wishes, specific names. One year, I wrote down the name Rob Dyrdek. If you don't know Rob, founder of Street League Skateboarding, built multiple businesses, holds over 20 world records, runs his own venture studio. He's someone I had admired from a distance for years. I had no connection to him. A couple of mutual friends, but nothing direct. I wrote his name on the list. I kept building my content. I kept showing up. And then one day I'm in my office and I get a text. It just says, "Hey Dan, it's Rob Dyrdek." He had read my book on software, which led him to my book on buying back your time. And then he reached out. Said if I was ever in LA, he wanted to connect. I recorded a quick video right away, showed him the skateboard deck I had behind my desk, sent it over. And now whenever I'm in LA, we connect. He inspires me in ways I couldn't have predicted. Here's the lesson. I didn't manufacture that connection. I didn't cold email him. I didn't pay for access. I wrote his name on a piece of paper, kept building in public, and the relationship came to me because of the work I was putting out. That is intentionality, working with consistency. You decide who you want to learn from. You stay focused on building something worth noticing. And eventually, the right people notice. Write the names down, put them on the list, then go build something worth finding. Now I want to flip this and talk about something most people don't want to hear. There is a real measurable cost to not investing in the right relationships. And the cost is not just slow growth. It is a ceiling you cannot see. The people around you set the invisible ceiling on what feels normal. If everyone in your circle thinks $200,000 a year is crushing it, then $200,000 feels like enough. You stop pushing. You stop questioning. You stop wondering what's possible on the other side of that number. Not because you are not capable of more, but because no one around you is living more. Most people are not surrounded by bad people. They are surrounded by limited people. And that distinction matters. I was at an event in Dallas, a supercar warehouse filled with CEOs and high performers, millions of dollars of cars in the background. He was 12 years old, in that room, asking that question. That is not an accident. He asked, if you were 12 years old and starting from zero, what would you focus on for the next 12 months to build something great? And my honest answer was, the fact that you asked that question is the answer. He was 12 years old, in that room, asking that question. That is not an accident. That is environment shaping mindset. He's going to win. Not because of some secret strategy, I told him, but because he chose to be in a room that showed him what was possible. Think about that. You become what your environment normalizes. If your environment normalizes struggle, you will normalize struggle. If your environment normalizes ambition and growth and bold moves, those things start to feel normal to you too. Choose the room before you choose the strategy. The fourth reason, and this one will change how you think about networking forever. The old model of networking is dead. The old model of networking is dead. Cold emails, awkward events, coffee meetups where you try to pick someone's brain. It is slow, it is exhausting, it does not scale. And most of the time it produces nothing because the relationship starts with an ask before there's any real trust. The new model is simple. Make content, add value, let people come to you. Not because of who you know, because of who knows you. Here's an example. I was flying into Dallas for a speaking engagement. A guy on Instagram messaged me. He had seen my content, noticed I was coming to Dallas, and said he wanted to show me something. I looked at his profile. Supercar dealership. He asked what I liked. I said I liked a Rolls-Royce with a mandarin orange interior, mostly joking. He said he had one. He rolled up to the tarmac, and that is how I met Chris. He hosted our entire event at his warehouse. That event led to the moment with the 12-year-old. That moment became a story I now tell everywhere. One DM from a person who knew my content. That is your platform doing the networking while you sleep. You put out one video, one post, one piece of genuine value, and it works for you while you are at dinner, while you are sleeping. The effort to create it is the same whether 140 people see it or 14 million people see it, but the 14 million opens doors you could never open by yourself. When I started showing up fully, hosting dinners, flying to see people, being present, being real, the quality of my relationships changed completely. I stopped curating how I showed up. I stopped keeping things surface level, and the depth of what came back surprised me. Build the platform, let the platform do the networking, and then invest deeply in the connections that show up. I want to leave you with one final story. A few years ago, I was at an event run by John Maxwell, one of the greatest leadership authors of all time. 92 books, more energy than most 25-year-olds, one of the finest human beings I have ever been around. We were talking after the event. I had been working on a new book for 2.5 years. I took a breath and asked him, "John, would you mind looking at it before I finalize it?" He said, "I'll write the foreword. I'll be glad to," and I was not prepared for that. I had spent 2 years writing every single sentence of that book thinking, I hope if John ever reads this, he doesn't think it's terrible. That was the bar I was writing to without ever telling anyone. And in one sentence, he handed me something I could have never planned for. That is what real relationships do. They hand you things you could not have engineered. They show up when you need them most. They say things that land exactly right at exactly the right time, but only if you invested in them before you needed them. So here's what I want you to do after this video. One practical thing. Write down 3 names. 3 people, in business, in life, in whatever world you are trying to grow in, that you want a real relationship with. Not a transaction, a real one. Then ask yourself what you can give before you ever ask for anything. That is where it starts. That is where everything starts. The people who win are the ones who understand that relationships are not a soft skill. They are the highest form of leverage available to you. And the best time to start building them was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. Go make the list right now. Start building those relationships today.